What's going on, everyone? So, according to Beyond the Mask, Scream 7 has promised to unite old friends with Sidney Prescott. Is there anybody you'd like to see return? Is the question that Beyond the Mask posed. Now, this film is supposed to be very Sidney focused, Sidney centric. There have been lots of rumors going around and just kind of word coming out that this has been rewritten several times. So, we don't really know, right, based on old rumors and speculation, which is why I always say take everything with a grain of salt. Everything is always speculation until we actually get confirmation. But the one thing we do know is that this is going to be a Sidney-esque film. This is also going to be 30th anniversary. Now, not to the date, but to the year. So you got to imagine that that's going to have some level, some form of tie-in with Scream. Now, it could be as simple as just like, maybe a flashback scene or old footage at the end of the film or something, right? Like, you'll see films kind of throw in nostalgia in the end credit scene or something, right? Like, that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be within the actual frame of the film, but it would be nice to kind of see some creative ways to maybe add some people into this film that may not be there otherwise. There is a lot of kind of talk and discussion, and I've made videos kind of diving into it, and many of you kind of seem split on the idea, but of them potentially kind of creating Scream 7 as its own starting point, or even like being like almost like a direct sequel to some of the previous films, which would essentially leave out Scream 5 and 6. So basically kind of letting Sam and Tara's arc, Scream 5 and 6, be its own thing, and then kind of picking up where, say Scream 4 left off, or, maybe Scream 3 or something like that. Now, you could technically do kind of a direct sequel from like Scream 4, but still have the Sam and Tara story be canon, right? Because like, Sidney wasn't in Scream 6. Sidney also wasn't in Scream, or she was in Scream 5, but like, not really the main focus or main character. Ghostface wasn't really after her. Dewey's death is what kind of got her thrusted into it, to where maybe you could do something where, Dewey's still dead, and, it still keeps the things that 5 and 6 set up, things that 5 and 6 established, but this is kind of like, a tie-in to Scream 4, right? Because Scream 4 had nothing to do with Sam and Tara, so you could kind of have that. There's ways that you could go about it. There's ways that you could be creative, but ultimately, the question is, who do they bring back, right? Like, how do they have old friends? Like, all of Sidney's friends are dead. Now, it could be something as simple as like Kirby and Gale, and kind of do that whole switcheroo. People would love to see Stu, obviously. A lot of people, I'm sure, are even going to look at this news and be like, Stu's confirmed, right? Like, I'm not a big Stu guy. I'm not a big fan of bringing Stu back. I just think it's been so long, and not even a whisper of Stu, really. It's just like, where has he been? What has he been doing? I just feel like there's just too much to unpack to where you're going to be able to make it realistic. A lot of Stu fans, I'm sure, probably don't really care. They just want, as long as it's semi-plausible, as long as it makes some sense, then they'd have that. We saw Billy be a sensual force ghost, right, in these Scream movies, so maybe you could do something where, that's what I'm talking about, like having like flashbacks, or, I'm sure there's all kinds of footage that we've never seen that's just archived somewhere, from like the original cast and the original Scream, where, maybe you could have a flashback with Billy and Stu discussing plot or something that just didn't make the film. There's a lot of things that I'm sure that is out there somewhere that you could use to kind of tie in and make it kind of be a part of the film. If they were to kind of retcon stuff, then you have like the Dewey Riley approach. You could have Dewey be involved, and have him kind of be part of the big three again, the OG three. Courtney Cox has even expressed that she wants to have Dewey back in it. Personally, I think you should just let B be, right? Like, you already did what you did. Why undo it? The only thing that I'm mad about them killing Dewey about is that they just, like, the whole point of killing Dewey was to establish that no one is safe, right? Because it was just like 4 straight films. Dewey, Sidney, and Gale, you knew, were always going to survive. Anytime you put them in a compromised position, you know ultimately they're not going to die. They're going to live. They're going to make it out. Dewey's going to give a thumbs up at the end, right? So the idea was like, hey, this is a new regime, new stories, new everything. Let's kind of set the tone and show that the old is the old, right? Like, we're not that Scream where Dewey, Gale, and Sidney are going to make it out every film, right? And then you decided to follow that up with a film where nobody died. Like, literally nobody died. That was incredibly frustrating, right? Where, it's like, why even do, like, you can't set the tone and, kill off a beloved character to show that no one's safe, to then just make everybody safe, to essentially retcon your own doing in the very next film. It's silly, right? So, I was fine. I understood. I got it. Okay, this is why you need to kill Dewey. Fine. I'm on board. Let's go. But you messed it up, right? And now you're in this position where it's like, okay, well, what are they going to do, right? Like, you keep hearing these talks of, like, characters returning and whatnot. Like, so what, are they bringing back Stu? Are they bringing back Randy? Like is everybody just alive? Is this like a remake? Like, what are we doing here, right? Like, you want to know what's the meat and potatoes of this film. Like, how are they going to go about it? How are they going to approach it, right? Like, it could just be, again, straightforward. Kirby, you have Joel that's still out there and alive somewhere. Maybe Joel returns and that's the friend, along with Kirby and Gale and stuff. And then, you have Mark Kincaid, who's her husband, right? So maybe it is something like that where it's just, her friends are characters from past films, right? You got Joel, who we haven't seen since Scream 2. There you go. There's that. You get Kirby, which we haven't seen since Scream 4. There you go. There's that. Here's Gale, right? Mark Kincaid, we haven't seen since Scream 3. So basically you get a character from 2, character from 3, and then character from 4 and Kirby. There you go. Maybe they, throw in a surprise and like Mason Gooding or something like that is alive, or Martha Meeks, right? Oh, here's Martha Meeks. Martha's in it, right? Like, I could see that kind of being the route where it's like, oh, Sidney, Sidney's friends have come to help. And it's like, oh, is it going to be, Randy? Is it going to be Dewey? Is Dewey back? Oh, maybe it's Stu. And he's, he's reformed, right? Like, and then it's like, oh, here's Joel, surprise, right? Like, here's Martha Meeks, surprise, right? Like, I could see that kind of being the way that they go about it. But, again, like, Kirby's supposed to be in this film because they're supposed to use her to set up their own Kirby film. Gale, I know Courtney Cox, at least at the time of recording this video, is not signed on, but I imagine she will be at some point. They just keep rewriting the script, so Courtney just wants to make sure, like, hey, this isn't a complete dumpster fire, or you're sending me to space or something like that. So I do imagine that she will sign on. So, there's 2 friends right there that you could argue, and then Mark Kincaid, there's 3, right? Is that the friends that they're talking about? Because, outside of that, like, who's alive? The only other way you're going to be able to do that is if you retcon something and make somebody alive, right? And then even then, like, for people that are like, oh, it's Stu. Like, Stu isn't one of Sidney's friends, right? Like, Stu, like, Sidney, she'd kill Stu before he even could say hi, right? Like, Stu is the opposite of a Sidney friend. So I don't think it's something like that. Personally, I think if I had to, like, guess, and kind of what would be my prediction on it? I think it's just what I mentioned with Kirby and Gale and Mark Kincaid and Joel and Martha Meeks. And it's like, there's 5 friends, right? Like, those are friends. Those are people that have been in Sidney's life at some point. Bring them all in for 30th anniversary. Boom, there you go. Like, that's something that I could see and I think would happen. But like I said, give us some little flashback sequences. Give us some footage we hadn't seen. I guarantee you there's a ton of archived stuff that we just have never seen. Right? Like, add some of that to the film. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yeah, it's not going to be anybody crazy. It's just going to be the Joel, the Martha Meeks, the Kirby Reed, the Gale Weathers, the Mark Kincaid. There's the friends. I do think, no, like, they're going to throw in that surprise character. They're going to throw in somebody that no one expects. Is there anyone in particular you do want to see? Anybody that you're like, oh man, they got to have this person in that film? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.